Hi, everybody. It's Tay, and today I'm here with Ian, our Director of Operations at OPSWA. Today, we're going to be talking about how OPSWA works towards dropping the barriers for internationally educated healthcare workers. And basically, Ian is just going to give us the one-on-one 101 on that today. So I'll hand it over to Ian to say hello.
Hello, Tay. Thank you for having me today. Reducing the barriers for immigrant workers is a major issue right now in Ontario, and it has been for a number of years. Um, the OPSWA has been working since 2019 to really provide direction and support for new Canadians wanting to work specifically as personal support workers in Ontario with all of our partners. The program is housed under the international and now the interprovincial grandfathering program. And essentially what the OPSWA is doing is we are permitting internationally educated individuals, such as internationally educated nurses, physicians, you name it, within a certain area of practice to work as personal support workers, but most importantly, to join the professional association as fully insured frontline healthcare workers. Now, in long-term care right now, you can hire internationally educated nurses to work as personal support workers, so long as the director of care in that home is okay with that situation. We've had a lot of issues when it comes, issues is the wrong word. We have directors of care question us regularly, asking if certain members are qualified to work as PSWs, just as a sounding board, essentially. It's from that this program took root, and we decided to offer a standardized approach to this, which is the international program, grandfathering program. Now, this program enables members to obviously have the insurance, but they get to have an OPSWA badge, which is photo ID, which they can use especially when they come to New Canada, which for many immigrants is something that it establishes some permanent element in Canada and Ontario. The program has enjoyed enormous success in Ontario. We've grandfathered at least 2,000 internationally educated professionals to work in long-term care. These were individuals that were enormously supportive during the COVID, especially they were heroic with their actions, like yourself, I might add. And especially we're finding that they're here for the right reasons. A lot of the nurses and professionals, they do a lot of personal care in their countries and where they come from, and they find the job to be is exactly what the expectation is, and they're prepared for that. In a nutshell, that's the program. So it's very straightforward. You can find it on our webpage. But yeah, it's really the major issue. We're hoping to take it nationally.
I'm thinking too, like the whole goal, well, not the whole goal, but part of it would be to kind of help our staffing crisis right now that we're in. And I don't know a lot about it, but I do know that there are so many barriers outside of our program where people they have the education, they have the drive to come over here, but we have all these stipulations on why they can't be here. Mm-hmm. And so I'm guessing that this program, it's basically a guide through all of those. And as you said, removing the barrier, how would someone get involved in that? So say like we have a PSW watching now abroad and they're interested in it. How would they touch base with you to get started in this whole process?
Well, we always encourage them to go to the webpage at www.opswa.com or to email info@opswa.com. I will try to add that into a chat if we can do that into this, excuse me. But in general, we try to keep the access pretty straightforward. You drop an email and you can request information on how to join. There's no cost to have a pre-approval. We can run through we can do the profile and determine if their eligibility exists. We do this regularly for members. If they don't exist, we don't charge for a non-compliance, for example. It's just to see if they qualify. But to answer the first part of your question, I think the barriers to immigrants working in Ontario right now continues to be cultural and linguistic. Not linguistic specifically amongst not being able to have English skills, but an increasing demand for linguistic skills in specific languages like Urdu, like Italian or Chinese, Mandarin, all the different variances. Each of those communities we're seeing a growing increase in demand for those exact languages to match. And we have immigrant groups that can support that. But there remains a disconnect between the hiring managers and their ability to recognize the credentials of an internationally educated professional to do that role. And because they don't know, and because there's that element of doubt, they don't hire them, which amplifies the crisis. So what this program is essentially trying to do is to say, we understand that they're new to Canada and that you're basing this, you're taking a risk, but we at the association are happy to put our name behind them, and we're gonna, what's the word? We're gonna take them at face value, and we're gonna take them, give them the chance to say, we'll take you at face value. Here's your shot to join the professional association. We will help you. You will get a job because we'll individually place you. And you'll have access to legal help. So you're pretty much, once you're part of a community. So it is a struggle of trying to get the word out there. So that's the barrier. It's a multiple barriers, not just one language or one culture. It's that situation. So I'm not sure.
It's kind of a prominent problem for a while too. No, that does answer my question. I guess I'm just asking as well for some of our viewers, when you get started and you're kind of launched in our process, your process, I'm not really involved in it, but
Our process. Okay.
there's no like guarantee, right? Like some certificates actually just aren't eligible, and there's nothing that we can do about that, right? Like I feel they need to air that out too, because sometimes I feel like people think, oh, that's it, like I'm good to go once I sign up, and that's not always the case. And especially if you're viewing this, like it's not 100% a guarantee. And then I guess too, like part two, you said you would connect them with jobs. So do you help with job placement, or is that more sort of like postings?
As soon as no, not at all. We handle each applicant one at a time. So everyone that comes through our application process, once they are vetted and they are confirmed to have their insurance and their badges ready to go, once they reach that final step, which is usually within about a week to 2 weeks, maybe depending on turnover time on our end, we send out an email to all of our partners in that where they live, forgive me for the dings, for where they live, indicating that they are now eligible for employment. We then send the resume out to those employers, and then the employers take the onus to actually connect with those people, knowing that those have been pre-vetted by the OPSWA, and therefore they have a greater chance of employment. If that IGP member is not able to secure employment, we strongly encourage them to connect with us again, and we will make sure we find them work. The demand is essentially in Ontario, the demand is too high for them, for a member of the association to not be employed right now. The demand remains high. So yeah, that's it absolutely can be. Now, one side thing that you mentioned is when you come to Canada, is there a guarantee? No, there's no guarantees in any case. My family is, and my father was an immigrant too. When they came to Canada, they took a chance, like we all do when we come to this country. And there's no guarantees that they're successful. But the other option that immigrants often are faced with is that you get to Canada, you're an internationally educated nurse, and the first thing you're told is you can't work as a PSW unless you go back and do 7 months of school at a PSW program, or you need to go and do a community college program or something else. That's no longer needed, at least not to enter our program. Simply by joining and paying the membership fee, which is $300, I think, and you approve for that $300, you can work as a PSW under our insurance with a badge with our partners, which include the Ministry of Long-Term Care and the Ministry of Health. So we're not trying to make the systems redundant that are there to train PSWs that come from other countries, to train international nurses to become PSWs, but the demand is so great that we need to be really responsive right now to bring in and to bring in the people at the rates they can. And it's becoming to the point now where, from my perspective, why would they have to go back and do 7 months of education when they already have the nursing skills from their home country? A body is a body, and the skill sets, personal care is personal care. But I'll leave that in your hands. I'm not a healthcare professional. I'm more of an HR person.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking too, I know a big problem that, a lot of us had on the front line, and it's nothing to do with the worker themselves, but there was this kind of this new role being created that, as the language we've used, is piggybacked off of the role of the PSW. And it's kind of like you bring someone in who hasn't went to school at all and done anything in terms of training.
Yeah.
And then we try to create them as sort of a PSW hybrid, pay them less. And then we have people internationally that are interested in coming over and working here, and or even are here already and just cannot get work, even if they do have the proper education. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So it's really cool to hear about this program, because it sounds like it's almost bridging the gap a little bit with that.
It's trying to, yeah. I mean, the real issue is connecting to immigrants when they arrive here in Canada. Immigrant groups going back since the foundation of Canada have always preyed on their own. A lot of immigrants are convinced by members of the community that are already here to attend schools X, A, B, or C, because those people are the ones that set those schools up, and that's how they're generating revenue. No problem. I got no issue with that. More education is always great, but you don't need to go to those schools to work as a PSW at all. That's not a requirement in home care. It is, the director of care can go ahead and vet that, and our program helps to verify that. So are we saying that immigrants should not go to a community college when they come to Canada? No, they should, and learn as much as they can. But if you wanted to work as a PSW and you need the revenue now, join the association. We can definitely assist with that. Yeah, so that's the nutshell of the program. And I think to answer your first question, though, when you went back about the different titles, that is essentially what the OPSWA's mandate was and is to end that constant rejigging of the title. We don't hire, well, the PSW comes essentially from a rejigging of the nurses title, because the nurses had to delegate some of their care. So the PSW became the new title. And then they had to keep creating new titles as that population kept shrinking, and forcing those titles to intercompete is eroding the quality of care on the front line. And at the end of the day, that's the patient that doesn't have any sort of standards that they can rely on. We're more beholden to the desire to save that extra dollar an hour. And I don't support that. And these are just the odds. So we want to have one title across Canada, or maybe two, that demonstrate what those standards are. And that would end that practice and end that ambiguity that exists right now. So yeah, it's an issue.
Yes, it is. I on the front line noticing, like, are we just trying to save money here?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, completely.
I'm concerned.
No. Make no mistake about it. The constant rejigging of titles is exclusively an economic act. It has absolutely nothing to do with patient care at all. That's why we have over 100 titles right now to do that one job.
Right.
You don't generate 100 titles if you're trying to standardize something. You generate 100 titles if you're trying to destandardize and to bring costs down. And that's what they're doing constantly. And we're seeing the 20-year impact of that constant devaluation of that title is that you have an inflation essentially element. We're all familiar with inflation. Now the title's worthless. No one wants to do it. We can't sell the program. We can't even give it away for people to do it. But we're going to start turning a corner soon. We have to. So it's part of our goal. But
it's kind of like a rock bottom, and sort of in that way. Like, I feel like the pandemic was just, again, record exacerbated past issues, but like this is like a new low for us.
Oh, it got worse, because during the height of the pandemic, the decision was, let's introduce a new title.
What? I know.
They did. They introduced 5 during the pandemic as a way of saying proactive and response. Those same titles do all the same job. They just keep having less and less training to do it. It's the devaluation of the front line. It's the devaluation of the patient, and because the patient is who we're ultimately all talking about. The role that the patient plays in healthcare is continuing to erode. It seems that it's not there for them anymore, which we're trying to change.
It sounds like a great way to bridge the gap, as I said, and thank you for coming on and for giving us a little bit of detail about it. I hope our viewers find this helpful, and if you're out there right now and you're struggling, please know that you can always reach out to OPSWA and Ian, and they will lend you a helping hand.
And we'll put on our job description, we'll put on the video description, if this is going on our social media, just the links if anyone needs to connect with the OPSWA or me. It's just connect with info@OPSWA. I'm not going to give you my full email because you'll never get it on it. It's idesilva@opswa.com. You're welcome to connect with me. drop me a line. But the program is open. It's all online with this. There is no secrets or no trying to reduce this. So hopefully we can get people to join.
I hope so. I think, yeah, posting a link would probably be helpful. So yeah.
We will when we get it posted. We'll definitely make sure there's a link on this. Yeah, but that's it in a nutshell. Those are our big plans, and we're hoping to expand it nationally. Is the next plan, because this problem impacts right across the entire country. We're all faced with this growing HHR crisis. So
it's a valid solution to a major problem.
It is, and some provinces are being more proactive than others and recognizing it. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're kind of snotty in Canada, like snobs. We have our nose in the air, and a lot of that is structural, because by creating barriers, we can charge for those to pass those barriers. So you can see the business model. I'm probably making enemies as I say this, but it's the truth of it. I mean, you pay them to come to Canada, and you got to pay for this, and I get it. I mean. That's part of the business structure, but when we're in such an HHR die or HHR straight, any barrier, and that's another thing I just want to mention, is that we get a lot of requests that I have my WES. You do not need to go to WES or any sort of credentialing service if you're looking to join this program. Not that, I mean, I would, if you have it, great, send it in. It's wonderful. We think very highly of them. But if you're trying to save money and you don't need to reinvent the wheel with us. But our evaluations are not transferable to other parties. So they're only for our program. Just be advised of that. So if you want to have your credentials transcend evaluation, transcend this, go to the World Education Services. They're excellent there. They have great services. But for this program, it is not a requirement, but we welcome them if you have that. So that's want to make sure that gets out there first.
That's perfect. We might as well get it all out on the table.
Well, yeah, we're here now, right? So yeah. So if we want to talk about any element of this again, I'm happy to come on in the future, especially if we have any changes. And I know we're working on some exciting programs that we are looking to expand. So it's always changing here at the OPSWA and CANSWA. So
that's so exciting. To have you back. If anybody viewing here has any commentary, has any feedback, wants Ian to discuss different things, or have any questions for Ian to answer, definitely
do so in the chat. Do so in the chat. Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll bring him back and blow some more stuff up, and that's what we're here for. So thank you.
Let's not say blow it up when it comes to healthcare, but we will definitely heal the system. I'm gonna say
blow it up.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Like jokes.
Thank you so much for having me, and we will we'll heal the system together. I'm sure. Not to worry, but thank you.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you everybody for listening. I'll talk to you in the future. Okay.
Nice night, everyone. Take care.